So Dispatch just dropped an absolute bomb. They have showed the contract details for the settlement between 2016 to 2021 of the contracts of Loona's members. Again, they got this information, and it does not look good for Blockberry. In fact, it doesn't look bad, it looks horrible, and just exposes the slave contracts in K-pop. So you have to remember, this is Chuu's revenue, and the reason I say Chuu is because she did more solo activities, more promotions, so she got a little bit more money than the rest of the members. She is the best case scenario when it comes to money in this situation, because she did more solo activities. So the revenue made total was a 70-30 split, which is not uncommon in the industry, right? The company made 70% and the artist made 30%. And that totaled to 1.8 billion Korean won for the company, or a little over that, and Chuu would have made 778 million Korean won off of the revenue. Now, that's not a terrible total. It's actually around $540,000, which is not bad. I mean, it's not good, but it's not like terrible, right? Over that stretch of time. It's better than what most slave contracts entail. But the catch is it's the expenses, because the expenses was 50-50 between the company and the artist, which is not good. That means the artist is paying about as much for the music as the company is paying. So the expenses totaled in 1.4 billion. So the company paid 708,000, and Chuu would pay 708 million. Chuu would also have to pay 708 million. So that deducted 708 from her original 778 million. That left her with, in the settlement dispersed, 70 million Korean won. Now again, to anyone who's just like casually looking at numbers, it's like, oh, that's a lot. But if you translate 70 million won to USD, including tax deductions, which it actually rounded it down to 67, that's close to 52,243 USD. This isn't just in 1 year. This is over a 5-year stretch. Now, she made a little more because of this, because of her, individual incentives when it comes to solo activities. So really it was more around, she was making 12 to 13,000 per year, which is substantially worse than the worst average minimum wage job in America. To give you some perspective, the lowest minimum wage jobs in America are usually retail stuff, at least right now in the economy, which is usually anything from like hairdressers. Some can make as little as 26,000 to, cashiers, which makes around 26.7 thousand right now, I believe. And that is more full time, but Chuu was still working in Loona essentially full time during this whole thing. So she was probably working even more than full time because she also had individual activities. So she's making a third less money than an average cashier in America is making as a K-pop idol in one of the I wouldn't say one of the biggest groups, but one of the most known groups in the K-pop industry, well known internationally, and she's making nothing. She's making barely enough to even live. This isn't just concerning. This is like legitimately terrifying. Like these contracts, I have made close to that amount of money from my 2 jobs. And in even my 1 job that I worked semi-part-time for a 3-year stretch. So that's very concerning. That I, right now, if I worked full-time, would be making more money than her as a 20-year-old who's in college, and my job is nowhere near as difficult as her job. So that's not good. And what's even worse is if you really do the math for the average member, not even talking about Chuu, who made a little more to individual activities, average member be close to $11,000. They're making nothing. Absolutely nothing. So initially leading up to that there was a conversation Chuu had with Blockberry's team lead B, and this is how it went from Chuu's perspective. These are her messages translated. Not 100% full translation. Some of these are kind of off, but most of these are correct. So you have, with something like this, with 1 second, this is what you're nagging over. Do you want me to have affection? I'm sitting out this album. You got to be kidding me. appearing or participation in stuff like Queendom, don't even dream of going forward, have no intent to reflect over one's wrongdoings. I see. Spoilers, don't you know that other groups or group, everyone does this stuff at fan signs and broadcasts. And then they just literally weren't responding to her until the very end, where they said, let me figure out what the situation is here. And the team lead B started lying about what they were saying, and you can see these in the text chats that I'll link down below. There's a Google Doc with all this stuff in it that you could see for yourself. Now, Chuu did get the ability to decline activities, and this is why she did it. Again, I've said things in the past about what had been going on with her, but what happened is that she has the right to deny group activities because of her solo and individual schedules, as long as it's only for 3 or fewer Loona full group schedules per month and 3 or fewer Loona album activities per month. Now, the expiration date for this addendum contract was December 31st, 2022, so coming up here in a few weeks. On May 25th, 2022, the day after filming the music video for Flip That, geez, why did I say that? I think I said that earlier too, my bad. Chuu's mother activated Article 5, Item 2 of the addendum contract, which was able to claim $50 million due to the delay in scheduling for Flip That. Now, Blockberry did request an understanding for around an hour delay, but it was still activated because this Flip That choreography scene was technically interfering with Chuu's individual schedule. Her mother was able to immediately claim damages from Blockberry. So essentially, she was able to basically weasel some money out of the contract. Very smart thinking by Chuu's mother. Now, Dispatch breaks down why this isn't really a media play, nor is this an abuse of power by Chuu, because she was kicked out, remember. And the reason all of this happened is because of the negligence that happened over her contract in individual scheduling situations. One thing that's interesting is that Chuu could have actually left the group at any time after the lawsuit that went down, but she didn't to stay with the members, which is pretty heartwarming in reality with this whole situation. This document from Dispatch says, Blockberry took on a project it couldn't handle. Over 5 years, they poured in around 17 billion won. They released 24 albums and filmed 44 music videos. It was also unusual that they had a single release and MV for each of the 12 members. Chuu is a beneficiary of this reckless attempt. As a result of this, she was able to join a group after just 3 months of being a trainee. In addition, Blockberry developed Chuu as a strategic member. It is also true that they provided more opportunities for her. Chuu herself did it well. Despite this, Blockberry is not in the realm of being excused. The primary cause for this conflict is their trickery in how they dealt with expenses. Had Blockberry handled expenses according to typical contracts, the issue of exclusive contract termination would not have come up. They continue on to say, in this past year at least, Chuu is the individual greater than the team. She picked what to participate in and the time. The conversation between the two sides proves this. Blockberry's position became one of receiving Chuu's bidding. Ultimately, Blockberry cut ties first, determining that it was too much to continue. In a way, it seems that it was Chuu who induced this. You can get a glimpse of her dissatisfaction with Blockberry. The Kakao Talk conversation proves this. Dispatch needed to meet Chuu to hear why she turned away, rather why she can't return. And last week, after some difficulty, we were able to contact a representative of Chuu who first pointed out the issues with the settlement. Quote, back then, I didn't even know the difference between pre and post expense settlements. I signed out of joy of being able to debut. I didn't even know that in this kind of post expense structure, you can't properly receive payments. Now, what does this all sum up? Basically, this says, A, Blockberry didn't know how to handle their expenses, and they forced really bad slave contracts on the Loona members who were just happy to debut, as most idols and most groups are. And what this exposes is that A, Chuu was able to gain an upper hand and get a better contract because she became an individual greater than the parts, as it is essentially put by Dispatch, and she was able to forge herself a new contract because of this that was more beneficial to her. Now, again, this contract is still not beneficial in any way. It is still very detrimental. She makes less than a retail worker here in the United States, and it's really bad. Basically, what happens here is that Dispatch, they had to cave. They had to give this contract to Chuu, excuse me. And what happened is that Chuu was able to kind of pick and choose when she wanted to be a part of the group, and basically Blockberry essentially was like, "Hey, we don't want to handle this anymore. We're going to kick you out of the group. And that's where this forced expulsion from the group is coming from. Not because she's abusing staff, but because BlackBerry couldn't handle her contract anymore. BlackBerry couldn't pay her. BlackBerry couldn't do anything with her. She was a liability to them. She was pulling BlackBerry's chain, and BlackBerry didn't want to do that anymore. And again, that maybe to some people will paint Chuu as being a bad person, like, oh, she's fucking over this company or whatever. But again, this company is paying her less than a retail worker's job. All she's doing here is trying to get money to pay, for example, whatever she needs to pay money for, right? She's just trying to get money. BlackBerry can't provide it. She's trying her best to get it. And the only reason that she didn't leave Loona sooner is because she wanted to be in a group with the members. So before you all say, oh, it's all for the money for her. No, she stayed in the group because she wanted to be with the members. She could have left after that lawsuit. This is, again, really big stuff because it paints BlackBerry in a terrible light. These are slave contracts. This isn't even money that you can live off of here in the United States. If you had like $10,000 per year, where the fuck are you gonna live? Okay, there's probably some place in like the middle of nowhere that you could shack up in like a fucking 2 square foot apartment. You know what I mean? But that is over here at least unlivable. Now Korea is different, but South Korea right now has some hugely high prices for real estate and everything anyways. So I seriously doubt that is very livable wages for them to be working through. And BlackBerry has now just been absolutely exposed by Dispatch. So again, I'll leave this document down below for you guys to use and read through the whole thing. It's a translated document. A lot of people are looking at it right now. In fact, like 60 people at the time of me recording this is looking at it. So go check this out. And again, this update or this whole situation is still ongoing, but tell me what you guys think. This is huge. Prayers up for the Loona members. Prayers up for Chuu because this is terrible. And yeah, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.